Hey, Guns and Games here. Back with another video today. In this video, I'm going to be doing a review, overview, a little bit of background history on a gun I actually bought quite a while ago. I've owned this gun actually for like a year or more. This is the AMD 63/65 build from Clearview Investments Incorporated, and the sold by Classic Firearms off of their website. That's where I got this one from. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today, is this gun. So getting into kind of the purchase information and whatnot about the gun, I bought this gun when it was kind of on sale. They had them at a lower price back when I bought it. I bought this gun for $429 back then. This is specifically the AMD 63 model, as it's called, which is kind of a misnomer. But yeah, I paid $429 for it back when they kind of had it on sale. I think the price eventually kind of went back up into the upper fours at some point. I think they even went up to, I think, like $499 at its height. To my knowledge, Classic Firearms doesn't really have these anymore necessarily. I don't believe, but they do sell the parts kit. So they actually sell a do-it-your-own parts kit, though, that you could build yourself, I guess. But this is not how the gun actually originally came either. I have modified the gun quite a bit. I have modified the grips and the stock. So this is not what it originally looked like. I've also added a sling. The gun did not come with a sling. This is a actual original Hungarian leather sling. This is a Hungarian gun. So that was not original. This gun actually came with a Phoenix Technologies stock, plastic, rubber butt pad, side-mounted sling mount. I believe the butt pad does hinge open, so there is a storage container inside. Uses a standard trunnion setup. This is what it originally, came with. Took that off. It's a pretty good stock. I just wanted a gun to look a little bit more authentic. So, and then it also came with a pair of black polymer, or these are actually plastic grips. That's what it originally came with. So kind of put these on top to show you, give you kind of an idea what it would have originally looked like. It looks okay, but I wanted it to just be a bit more authentic looking. So I bought this stuff off of Apex. This was a surplus Chinese. I don't even know. They actually didn't have what nationality the stock was exactly, so I actually don't know what stock it is. But it was like $10, sanded, and then I bought a paint bottle, a wood finish bottle from Home Depot. $6, painted it myself. Got a hardware set for like $10. Did that, and then I bought the grips. The grips were actually kind of expensive. Each grip was like $15 each. And then I also had to swap and buy a new screw set. These actually take a different screw than the polymer or the plastic ones. So that was like another, oh God. I mean, it was like another $50 just for the grips, honestly. I believe roughly. And then this sling I think was $15 as well. So I actually sunk close to another $100 in the gun, modifying it this way to make it a little bit more authentic. So, but that's kind of what it originally looked like. It also came with a manual, AK rifle instruction and safety manual as well. That was about it. It did come with a Tapco magazine. I've got the original magazine in it right now. So that's what it originally came with. And that's really about the setup. It's really about it. So that's what it came with. What is this gun exactly? Well, it is a Hungarian rifle. Um, and these guns have generated a little bit of a stir in the AK community because of their low price. For the time, and even to this day, still, for the most part, is basically the cheapest AK on the market. You know, there are basically, this really is the only gun left back when I got it that you could get for under $500 on the market. You know, new. You know, not secondhand, obviously. So these have kind of generated a little bit of buzz the last couple of years for being really cheap and actually pretty good quality. The other thing that gets people excited about these is it actually has an original receiver. This is not an American receiver. It has an actual FEG Hungarian receiver in it, which is pretty special. It's really one of the only import, or parts build guns out there on the market that actually has a actual original European receiver. The only other ones really out there are like the Wassers and like the Impaps. The Century imports will usually have original receivers as well. That's really about it. So for these reasons, these guns have actually generated a little bit of buzz, a little bit of popularity, and they've actually, from what I've told, sold pretty well. And the reception of them has generally been pretty good. I've had a couple qualms about mine, but the actual build quality is pretty good, especially for the price. For being the cheapest AK on the market, effectively, it's better than a lot of particularly American AKs that are a lot more expensive. Century, IO. Yeah, Palmetto State Armory. Yeah, Riley Defense. Yeah, all of those. I would say the build quality's, at least the part quality's probably better than any of those. Your build quality may vary. I've heard mostly good things about the build quality, although there have been some lemons. Mine had a couple issues. These were easily fixable, though. No catastrophic problems or anything. And the parts have held up pretty well so far. Virtually no wear. I've shot about 600 to 700 rounds through it. It's had like no wear. Virtually, like literally no wear. Not even like finish wear at all, hardly. This receiver has lived up to the hype. The rivets are beautiful, perfect. The trunnions, the bolt, all the actual Hungarian parts are gorgeous, gorgeously made. What parts aren't Hungarian? The barrel. We do have an American-made, chrome-mollied, standard barrel, pretty typical. Obviously, get an American mag. Came with an American stock. Tapco G2 trigger group. I don't know what else really. I looked at it pretty good. I'm not sure what else. You've got a selector stop. That's probably not original. I would imagine the selector stop is probably American as well. That really seems to be about it. I'm not sure how this thing is actually 922R compliant. I don't think that's enough parts to be 922R compliant, but maybe it is. I don't even really understand. I understand the law, but I don't know what constitutes as a part. Is the entire trigger group one part, or is it like 3 separate parts? I don't know how it works precisely. So it's 922R compliant, so maybe that's it. Maybe that's all the American parts. I don't really know. So yeah, that's that, more or less. This gun does come in 2 different styles. This is the 63, which is the full stock, or the fixed stock. It comes with the Phoenix Technology stock. The other one has a side folder, or it has a crutch style side folder. Basically, it's a skinny rod that's kind of angled and bent to go into your shoulder, and it's got just basically a flat pad. It's pretty crude. They're pretty crude, and they side fold again. Those stocks are not the best in the world. that that's why I didn't get one. I would have, rather I'm like, I'm just going to get a full stock. And then if I want to, I could put a Romanian or like an Egyptian, probably Romanian though. I could put some sort of an actual better side folder. The quality of those side folders is good. They're just not very comfortable. There's no cheek. You see, any sort of cheek weld, you can't get any kind of cheek weld on it. Although they do make a riser for that you can install on it. So that's why I elected to go with this one, and then maybe in the future swap it out for some sort of other side folder if I wanted. These are not the only ones built. James River Armory also makes these as well. They have bought a lot of these parts kits as well, and they've built their own as well. They're a little bit more expensive. I'm not sure about the details of them. You'll have to find out for yourself, but I do know James River Armory makes these as well. They're pretty much the same, but they actually do not use the sheet metal handguard. They swapped it. They swapped this out for a tactical, a tactical looking lower handguard with rails. Two sides and a lower rail, and they've also got some sort of gas tube cover that has a rail for like a scout mount as well, basically. And then James River Armory makes them again, and also a fixed and a side folder version as well. So James River Armory makes them too. If that's more of your interest, if you want more of a little bit of a tactical setup, go with those. They're a little more expensive. I don't think Classic has them in stock anymore either. They kind of came and went. Don't know if they'll ever get them in ever again either. But they were, I think, $600 and $650, so they're a little bit more expensive. Still think that's probably a pretty decent purchase. Again, I do believe they also have the Hungarian receivers as well. So probably, not a bad buy either. More than likely. So that's kind of the overall view of the gun. What is the kind of historical context of these guns? These are Hungarian. They're based off of the AMD 65, which was a short-barreled, side-folding, so basically an AKM SU, that was adopted by the Hungarian military in 1965, hence its name. And these were intended to be used by like tank crews, vehicle crews, paratroopers, and what have you. They originally had a 12-inch barrel, so the actual sight block was actually basically right up against the gas tube here. And then they had this pretty interesting, unique muzzle brake that was actually a little bit longer than this one, I believe. Maybe not. No, that's actually correct. So the sight block was put all the way back, basically up against the gas block, and then you had the muzzle brake in front of it. Again, 12.5-inch barrel, so 3 3/4 inches shorter. It was either 12 or 12.5. So there's that, basically. And that's where they're getting these parts kits from, off of those. So the gun is not historically accurate. It's got a 16-inch barrel. Not historically accurate. They also never had a fixed stock. They had the side folder crutch stock. Not historically accurate, but whatever. They were also finished differently. These have been refinished, and they were applied with this Parkerized finish. The original ones were this kind of weird painted. They were finished. I believe they were Parkerized and then painted. I believe they have this really kind of glossy, deep black color. Just Google it. Just Google AMD 65, and you'll see what they look like. So that's basically what differs from the originals, essentially. There was also another one that looks like this as well that was a little bit earlier. Those were the AKM 63s, which is actually kind of more what this one looks like. The AKM 63 looks basically the same, but it had a fixed stock and actually wooden pistol grips like this one. That's actually what these are. These are pistol grips off of the AKM 63 and the AK 63D. So that's the AKM 63. Fixed wood stock, wood grips, And we actually had a proper 16-inch barrel on those. But they looked basically just like this. I've kind of recreated, which is what I was going for when I did this. Well, I kind of wanted to recreate the AKM63. This is kind of roughly what it would have looked like. It would not have had the snake brake, though. It would have had just a standard muzzle nut protector. They were never equipped with these, though. But that's really the only differences. So there are a couple other differences this gun has over a standard AK as well. The one other thing the AMD 65 had was it's a tube. It actually has a shorter tube. It's not like significantly crazy shorter or anything, but it does have a noticeably shorter gas tube. So the gas tube is shorter, and the bolt carrier, not the bolt carrier itself, but the piston is actually shorter as well to compensate. This meant that in automatic fire, the bolt, the piston and carry don't travel as far. So these actually had a higher rate of fire in automatic mode. Obviously, these are semi-automatic, so that's not the case. But so that's kind of interesting. These builds also suffer a little bit more as well because they do not have a bayonet lug. Sadly, that is another thing needs to be noted. You have no bayonet lug. And I don't know if they can take it, but I could not get a cleaning rod in the gun. The actual retainer up here doesn't seem to actually work. Like it's been grounded, as you can see, or something, so it doesn't work. And there's a hole. There's a bunch of holes down here, but they're not meant for a cleaning rod, it looks like. So I could not get a actual AMD 65 cleaning rod or a proper standard one to work. The AMD 65 had its own special shorter cleaning rod. I bought one of those shorter ones, couldn't get it to. Obviously that one wouldn't work. I don't know why I bought it. It obviously wouldn't have worked. But I actually put a standard cleaning rod in it too. Doesn't work. Maybe it does work. I couldn't get it to work. You might be able to. I don't know. Those are about all the differences. Oh, there's also no side rail. Obviously, no side rail. So that's kind of a negative too. You have no side rail, and obviously the gas tube is a little smaller, so you can't just stick another gas tube on. And you also have this kind of the strange handguard. So actual standard handguards don't work either. Or these handguards are different dimensionally, so a standard handguard won't work either. So these guns have what could consider to be some negatives, actually, in my opinion. But the price is what made these kind of so alluring. They're just so cheap, and they work, and they seem to be well made. At least mine kind of is, and from what I've heard, and Hungarian parts. So you don't have to worry. Probably don't have to worry about these things going out of headspace after like 1,000 rounds. It's Hungarian proper mil-spec trunnions and whatnot. So that's really about it. The qualms I had with the gun, there were a couple negatives other than the kind of build features that could be considered negatives to some people. I would consider some of them to be negative as well. But actual problems I ran into with this gun. One, it's got a Tapco trigger. So the bolt is about as stiff as trying to pull a piano across a gravel road with twine. And Jesus Christ, that's terrible. And obviously, also, I'll set you down here. The bolt is god-awfully stiff. So let me pull the trigger. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that is pretty bad. And then if we pull it back here, it generally, depending on if I can do it, I can't get it. Obviously, of course, when I'm on camera, I can't get it to lock back. Of course. I was doing it all day. You know, I've been able to do it for like a year. You know, been able to easily just lock it back all the time. There we go. Hey, there we go. So because of the hump on the hammer, it will lock back like that. And you just generally have a, god damn, I mean really, pretty stiff bolt, you know. It's not really a huge deal, but it's just kind of an annoyance. That's a Tapco for you. You might want to replace it, you know, whatever. Maybe you'll want to replace it. I don't know. The other kind of issue I had was the magazine well, or not the magazine well, the magazine release. Again, not not being finished properly, where it's not it's too big. So again, just like with my my AKMS, my Atlantic Firearms Battlefield Pickup one I did a video on, same problem. The magazine release was a little too big, so I had to file it down a little bit to actually get it to work properly. Now it's you know, pretty good. You know, it works well now. So that was another annoyance. Whatever, you know, I can kind of deal with it. It took 10 minutes to fix, not a huge deal. The other kind of final problem, not really a problem, but is the sights are not perfectly straight. You can see the rear sight is a little bit offset, like it's actually like cocked to the right a little bit. Didn't really affect accuracy at all through my testing. Accuracy was pretty much spot on, you know, once I, you know, adjusted the sights and whatnot. Yeah, it favors a little bit, you know, whatever. It favors a little bit to the right side. Not a huge deal. You kind of just adjust, and it really doesn't at all. Within a moderate distance, it's barely noticeable. I didn't notice really any accuracy hit at all. So, but I guess that's really about it. This one, I don't know if all of them are like this, but this gun was really picky with magazines. The Tapcos work fine. It liked the Tapco. It worked fine. It liked basically every surplus mag I fed through it. Worked fine. This is a Yugoslavian one. I've not actually shot the Yugoslavians through it, but Romanians and Hungarians and you know, other surplus mags, no problems. But it did not like these. These are 20 round South Korean made tanker mags, which is what historically the AMD 65 used. The AMD 65 was typically issued with these. You know, the 20 round tanker mags. So I kind of wanted to be historically accurate and get the proper mags for it, but goddamn, it did not like these. It just did not like these at all. Just didn't like them. The first run through, I bought like 4 of them they were like $12. Classic had them for like $12. I bought like 4, and damn, it just did not like them. The first go through for like each magazine was fine. And then, as it got on, I've got one of the 4, like, just doesn't even work. Like, I cannot even get it to work now. One of them literally just does not work anymore. Another one will malfunction, like, every 4 or 5 rounds, basically. And then the other 2 will malfunction every about 1, maybe 2 rounds per magazine, basically. So, yeah, that was a bummer. So I wasted another $50 basically on magazines. Now, these mags are not the issue. These mags work fine in every other AK I have, and actually I've had other AKs that are not my own shoot these as well, and no problems. These have been shot in a RAS 47 as well. Not mine, but someone else's, and no problems as well. No problems there either. So it's just the gun. It just doesn't like them. I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. They don't seem to mag wobble. I mean, there's a little bit of side to side, but I mean, a little bit of forward, but it doesn't dip at all. I don't know. It just doesn't like them. I don't get it. You know, it just, I don't get it. So that was another problem, I guess. Like I said, I've shot about 700 rounds through it. Parts are still in excellent shape. Didn't get any real dirt at all. Very little wear. I ran the gun pretty hard too. So, I mean, probably half of that round count was me running the gun pretty hard, like mag dump after mag dump. No problems. The Tapco and mag pulls and surplus mags, 0 malfunctions. Probably 400 to 500 of those like 600 to 700 rounds were with proper mags that had no malfunctions. I shot probably about 150 with these, and I had probably like 2 dozen malfunctions overall, maybe somewhere between maybe a dozen and 2 dozen. Yeah, so I don't use those anymore. I keep them loaded and use them in other AKs. But that's about it. I'm gonna kind of compare and contrast it with the actual regular, AK, my Romanian underfolder here. So I just wanted to kind of show you the gas tube and bolt carrier or piston differences. As we'll get into that, and you can kind of even just see maybe a little bit here. You can kind of see the difference even there. So, and actually I'll show you what a proper AK looks like. As you can see, it's got an actual bayonet lug, and I don't know. For some reason, I could not get a cleaning rod to stay in it or even fit in it. So, kind of strange. I'll just take them apart real quick. If I could there we go. I'll actually show you some of the parts too. So here are the bolt carriers. Get them out. I'll set them down. So here's the bolt carriers. The AMD is on the bottom. Romanian is on the top. There we go. And as you can clearly see, the carrier itself is the same size. It's just the piston is shorter, or by like an inch, maybe even more than an inch. Gun looks good. Parts look good. It is an all-matching parts kit from what I've been told. They're pretty much all matching. There's some wear, but nothing out of the ordinary. So looks good. Looks good. Going down in the guts, there's that bloody Tapco. And the trunnion looks good and everything. Nothing crazy there. And I will bust the gas tubes out here and show you the difference there as well. Fun, quick tip, you can actually use your bolt to lift the latch on your gas tube. There's a little channel, the rail channel on both sides. You just stick the handle in the rail channel. That's how you turn your lever up. In case you didn't know that, there you go. Alright, here are the gas tubes. Let's take a look at the difference, shall we? Yeah, here we go. So obviously Romanian's on bottom, Hungarian's on top, and the difference is pretty stark, I would say. Again, it's about an inch, maybe even more than an inch shorter. So Interesting. Very interesting. Overall, I mean, gas tube is, you know, no problems there. I mean, all the parts look normal. You know, typical wear. No issues. Parts have held up good. After, you know, cleaning it and whatnot, the parts have held up quite fine. So, that's really about it. I mean, getting into the conclusion, one of my overall thoughts on the gun, I've been fairly satisfied. I mean, I really can't complain for the price. You know, $429. I mean, can you really complain at all? Honestly, I'm not complaining really, other than the few minor gripes, functional problems like again no side rail and no bayonet lug and cleaning rod. None of that's real. I mean, these two are not really a big deal. I mean, I'm never gonna probably ever use a cleaning rod or a bayonet. But for the people like me that are kind of enthusiasts, purists, it matters. Also, I didn't show you the cleaning rod. Or cleaning rod. The recoil spring and rod. You know, everything just scraping from me, taking it off a lot. Looks good, it's holed up. You know, dust cover's not got any damage. Looks perfectly fine. Everything's holding up good. These parts, it's a Hungarian part, you know, it's Hungarian parts. It's gonna hold up forever. So no issues with anything, just those functional problems, you know, the feature problems, and then the mag release issue I had. And then it just, again, not liking certain magazines, and then the slightly somewhat canted rear sight block that doesn't really, it's not even noticeable until you get behind the gun. And if you don't know what to look for, you might not even notice it to begin with. And it, to my experience, barely affects accuracy at all. Those are my qualms, I guess, and you know, the Tapco. But for the price, I can't really complain. There is a lot worse out there, and for a much higher price. So overall, I'm fairly satisfied. I don't own the gun anymore. I sold it to my father. You know, he's not a purist, so he doesn't really, you know, probably care about those issues. But the lack of the side rail is kind of annoying, honestly. I think anybody would be kind of annoyed with maybe the lack of a side rail. It limits your options. You basically just have to do a scout mount, which is and putting a scout mount on these is tricky. You have to do some modification and tweaking and filing and whatnot to get that to work to begin with. So I'm not gonna, you know, glowingly recommend them or anything. If you really want to mount stuff, you might want to go with the James River Armory. The James River Armory might also have a side rail, actually. I'm not sure. They might actually have side rails on theirs, actually. They might. I'm not sure. But if you're wanting to ever mount, if you're wanting to get one of these and one day mount something, definitely get the James River Armory one instead. If they ever come back in the stock and if they're available. Or if you can find one. So, overall, pretty good. Again, also, you know, the muzzle brake does help with recoil pretty significantly. This does tame the gun, actually, somewhat. It also makes the gun louder as well. So, and it kind of makes the gun fireball a little bit more. It's actually pretty cool. I really like the muzzle brake. And also forgot to mention dimpled receiver. That really about sums it up. Not going to glowingly recommend it, but if you're interested and you're kind of on a budget, this is actually probably a pretty good budget. I can think of no better budget AK out there, honestly. This might be the gun for you. So overall, I'm decently satisfied, and I had a good experience. Overall, I'd say I had a decent experience with it. So that's going to really about wrap it up. Another massively long video of me rambling. I apologize, but that's going to be about it. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.